Hi, I'm Herne, and this is Quick Storytelling Tips. We're going to begin today's episode with a quote from a fantastic writing advice book, On Writing by Stephen King, who is a best-selling horror novelist and really good memoirist as well. Is that a word? I'm going to make it a word. So, in this book, he has a quote that begins like this: "What are you going to write about? Anything you damn well want. Anything at all, so long as you tell the truth." Great writing is honest. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have dragons because our world doesn't have dragons. What it means is that you can't have characters who behave in unrealistic ways, or you can't have the narrator say something that is just incredibly convoluted and weird and no one would ever say it in real life, but you want them to say it because it's what you need to get a point across. You can't have that because that's unrealistic. It also means, for instance, in a more macro example, that you probably want to avoid having people in your story think that they themselves are the bad guy. Because how many people do you know in real life that think they are the bad guy, even if they've done something genuinely abhorrent? So readers don't care so much about factual honesty, things like, oh, our world doesn't have magic, therefore Harry Potter feels fake because there's magic. People don't really care about that. Readers crave emotional honesty. They want to feel like the things happening in the story are things that could happen in that world, things that feel real. Readers want that emotional honesty of identifying with another character and saying, hey, this person's like me, they feel like me, their struggles are like me. Sure, I've never had to fight off a 100-foot tall dragon, but I can feel the fear that they're going through because I've had that experience in my life. This is liberating because it means that you can write about anything you want, no matter how outlandish the surface is. And that's because stories aren't about the surface. Stories are about what's underneath. They're metaphors for living, for what it means to live a good life. Through becoming emotionally invested in the characters in a story, readers explore through metaphor what it means to live a good life. Through becoming emotionally invested in characters' struggles and their journey and their growth, fiction provides this vessel for examining the nature of truth and what it means to live a good life. And this is only possible if authors tell the truth, which is where your job as an author comes in. So let's say a character, we'll call him Thud, always talks like a brutish, loudish barbarian with maybe 1.5 brain cells rattling around in his thick skull somewhere. You get that character, right? I've instantly painted a stereotype for you. And let's say they behave that way for 2/3 of the novel. Then, for some inexplicable reason at the 2/3 mark, they start talking in really long sentences and saying things like verily and thus and oh yes, old boy, the chess tournament that I went to last Wednesday was excellent. That's just not going to fly with readers. It doesn't feel emotionally honest. It doesn't feel true. Because it's a massive contradiction, most likely unexplained, that just doesn't sit with what we know about the character. It's not true. Now this gets us to the whole idea of write what you know. That saying doesn't mean that you can only write about, say, baking if you're a baker. Right? What it means is that really it should be saying write what you have felt, because it's writing what you know about emotional experiences and applying those and transferring those into a story that creates this honesty. It doesn't mean that you can't have stories about dragons, as we've mentioned many times. I don't know why I'm going with dragons as an example. It means that when you do have those moments when the big monster appears, you draw upon your own experiences of being afraid of the dark, say, or being intimidated by some yapping dog, right? You draw upon these experiences and infuse that emotional honesty into the story. So write what you know really should be write what you know about human behavior, about emotions, about the nuances of how people interact with the world. So this doesn't have to be too hard. Really, it's just a matter of stripping out, like an overblown reaction here or an unrealistic line of dialogue there, and you keep doing that through your drafts until you arrive at a story that doesn't have anything fake in it. And if it doesn't have anything fake in it, it's probably got a lot of realness in it. Do that, and you'll tell the truth. So to end this episode, I've got a fantastic quote from Neil Gaiman, who's an excellent author, which goes like this. Quote, "Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten." I've been Herne, and I will see you next time.